Okay, and remind me what level this is at?
Attackers
We're both normally GM, or we're GM. I just fought the masters after this game. I'm like 39.96 right now
Okay,
currently, but I'm normally in the GM lobbies.
sure.
This game I think was like either 40 or
This is
41.
console, so
It
it's
was
not
a
gonna be like PC GM level.
Yeah, no, I'm not worried about it. I assumed that when you read the code to me, to be perfectly honest. But hey, here we go. These are pushing up. Okay, so let's go back here. Oh, that's a bigger rewind than we wanted, but that's fine. And we're rotating in here. We hear the tracer, and at this point we know that there is a tracer on the enemy team as well as a Hammond. So going through our Brig's mind is, okay, the two threats that I'm really most responsible for dealing with, if we look at this team, are I want to make sure that the ball and the tracer don't give us too much trouble, and then on our team I'd like to also enable our tracer a little bit. So that's what we're thinking. And we're going here. We hear that. We see the ball. Nothing we can really do to the ball there. So we should solve this no problem whatsoever. And we do get that, and we should immediately pivot for the pack, which we do. Good. That's going to be a problem then. So we do this, and when we're good with that first pack, I can live with this second pack. It's a little questionable to throw this second pack on your Orisa. Is your Orisa really in any danger right now?
No, it's because I normally get worried with the critical, then they start blaming.
Right, but like we still have our BAP is right here. Our BAP is alive. Our BAP is going to have no trouble healing this Orisa. Orisa has a shield that isn't cracked yet, and the Tracer's been driven off. So if we look at this, it's a situation where by using this pack here, by using that pack there, we create a situation where that's one less pack to work with, and now we actually have 0 packs to work with. What if the tracer shows back up? What if the ball comes in? Now the ball's not going to come in, but you're now like you're in debt mode where you like don't have any packs to use. You're waiting for the next one, and it really wasn't very important to heal that Orisa there, was it?
No.
Okay. So, not a big deal, but that's the sort of thing that we think about. Because, we might want to be able to pack our McCree that gets aggressive, or something along those lines. Kind of like that. Okay, and now I get to do this. Oh, I thought we saw it up there. Who's this for? Who's this shift for?
It shouldn't have been for anyone. Most of them were healed up. I could have healed that diva up
Yep.
without it.
Yep. You absolutely could have healed that diva up. You're missing a little bit of health, but your Brig is going to either solve that with a repair pack, which is cheaper than your shift, or with Inspire. So, like, we didn't really want to use this shift here. Okay. Now we might have used the shift because we got hit, but yeah. And then we just took that shot because we're jumping, and we sort of hit an equation of, here we are, we dealt with the tracer. High ground is good for us, but what are we getting by being high ground right now? Is this because you're worried about the tracer? Is this because you're going to be shooting over here? Like, what are we getting by jumping here?
I'm worried about the tracer.
Okay. We should be pretty low in our concern about a tracer between our shift and having a Brig. Like, our tracer concerns should be pretty low. Like, BAP isn't terribly vulnerable to tracer. You've got shift. In an absolute pinch, you've got lamp. You do have the ability to jump. But, like, just spamming jump kind of makes your fall pattern predictable, right? Like, if you're down here and you have boots charged, you can jump or not jump, and that's a little unpredictable. If you're just sort of constantly jumping, it's sort of easy to be like, and you're going to fall now, right?
Pretty much.
Okay, so it's actually not something we want to do. Like, if you were jumping up here because you had to get a shot on someone that you were going to heal over here, sure. If you had, like, high ground that you could play from, where it's like, hey, I'm using jump to get up here and I'm going to play from here, maybe. This wouldn't be the best high ground for you because it's sort of to the side of your team and a little too threatened by them. Like, height is generally good for BAP, but just spamming jump isn't going to be our favorite solution to height. We want real high ground if it exists. And where's Jomar's? We're getting one clipped. No packs available. So this should have been an instant repair pack, and we just don't have that repair pack, which is a problem. So you can't really do this. This is sort of the curse of Brig. But you can't really do this whip shot unless you're just trying to reset, because it's the curse of Brig of, like, you don't have health. If you don't have your other support, you can't whip shot because you'll get eliminated if you try to whip shot before you get Inspire. And you also can't go swing because you'll get eliminated before you swing if you don't have Inspire. Like, Brig is good at maintaining full health when she has full health, but when she gets weak like this, you just kind of needed to go. Are you still in this push? Is this a push that your team can win?
No, they're all critical without a BAP.
So this is probably just a we leave type thing, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's okay if you want to actively reset too, but... Bye, Tracer.
Let me patch that up.
Sure.
Sometimes I don't know where to get into positions to repair pack the DPS. Like, where should I mainly be here? That way I can support them.
Patch that up.
So what we're looking at here is you have to decide what you think your team is doing. If you think your team is pushing like this, you're going to get up here and sort of use this wall as your cover, and you're just going to be shielded behind this wall, and that's going to let you have a wide enough fan to see if you need to deal with people. If you think your team is rotating back here, that's fine. You can rotate back here with your team. Your team right now is just suffering from indecisiveness. So, like, again, if your team is pushing, you'd be here. You could potentially try to play from here, but you'd mostly play from here. If your team is rotating back, well, let's hurry up and rotate back, and let's get to here where we can see enough. This is a really awkward situation that happens, where I don't think your team as a whole knows what the rotation plan is. Like, your Diva is rotating, but she's not, like, taking an angle rotating. She's just pushing forward, while your Orisa is pulling back here. And this is an easy repair pack on McCree, no problem. But then we're out in this situation where, again, if you'd been here, perhaps you just take a quick step to the left and throw your repair pack. If you'd been up here, sure, no problem. But this is, again, just a rotation question. And sometimes Tracer's not going to be in line of sight of you, and that's just life. The solution, however, is not to hit this bash. This bash is a little scary. How do you feel about this bash? I feel it's scary, but why don't you tell me? What are you thinking with this bash?
My plan was to repair pack that Tracer.
Yep.
I saw dueling.
Yep.
I don't
Okay.
really think of the negatives.
Okay, yeah. And unfortunately, the negatives is like, hey, it gets you somewhere a tiny bit faster, and maybe that'll be the difference in getting the repair pack off. But it does mean now you have to cross back from this. You've separated back from the team that clearly is rotating this way. You have this sight line, and if your Tracer does sort of lose before you get here or anything, now you're stuck in a fight against Tracer. And do you do good in fights against Tracer now when you're by yourself?
So sometimes, yeah. Depends.
Okay. Conceptually, your hero doesn't. Conceptually, you're really good at bodyguard, warding off a Tracer, but you're not really good at fighting Tracer by yourself. And your BAP here is going to have to rotate with your team probably. But maybe they'll be able to heal you from here. That's fine.
I don't really win the 1v1s. We just, like, I guess, just call it and we just move.
Okay.
Step right.
Sure, you're gonna pack that. You're gonna pack that as well. No problem. And let's check out how BAP is going.
Step right.
Special attack.
Okay. Again, this shift is sort of like you're shifting, maybe hoping that the regenerative burst will help your McCree, who's going to potentially take some damage. You're sort of just doing this. You have good targets over there. There's not really a great reason to drop. This is just worse positioning, right? Like okay, now we can shoot down this door, which is kind of cool. But for the sake of capping this point, this is just kind of strictly better, this position that we had here. We were harder to get to. We had more ability to protect our team. We can see that sightline if we need to punish the ball that's coming back. We can shoot to follow up the halt up there. Like, this is just kind of a better place for us than here in the middle. Here, we have to, like, swing around wildly to find things that need our weapons' attention, whether they need heal attention or damage attention. Being in the middle of the fight makes it a lot harder to target select than being back, and being in the middle of the fight also puts you in more danger than being back like that. So we want to have negative space is what we generally call that. Pause that for just a second to see if we can get back some frames. There we go. Again, that shift just looks like it was sort of an automatic thing you pressed, not really for value.
Good as new.
Okay. Why are you up here, Jomar? Let's see the last time you activated something. Okay, so that's Inspire. Still haven't Inspire. Okay. Is there anything terribly interesting up there? Like, yours Inspire is going right now, and hitting those guys with a whip shot isn't really important, right?
Right.
So we want to know where the Tracer is. That's not a whip shot that we're going to bother with. Not because they moved and you missed it, but because, like, we're just not interested in it quite yet. We might have been interested to keep Tracer away from our Diva or something like that, but we were when she was back there. When she was back there, we weren't terribly interested. And there's not an amazing reason to be up here. Like, I get it. You're trying to fight the Tracer. Tracer's scary. You are back here for the ball. Good.
Stayed on point.
I wouldn't have necessarily wanted to push too hard out on this. So, like, we're here.
Like, just stay, like, right there.
Yeah, just use your Orisa shield. Like, you've got your Orisa shield. In this situation, you're interested in, hey, I can throw a repair pack. Hey, I can try to whip shot the Tracer once she's actually on my Diva. But yeah, you can stay on this point just fine. Because we don't want to create too much separation for this ball to come around, which fortunately is late on. Okay. Okay, so this is exactly why we don't double pack things. One pack here? Absolutely. Why don't I like that you use two packs here?
Because it doesn't get refunded.
Right, it doesn't get refunded. You got it.
My what's it called, thinking process right there was that there's nobody alive, I may as well. You get me? So if you...
I do, but like, are your packs back? And your Diva and your Kree are right here, right?
Like, when I was at that point, I just saw, like, Orisa. I didn't see the other, like, character models.
Sure.
Like, wait. Oh.
Yeah, we can go to it. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
See, when I double... You see, it doesn't look like I have character models right there. 2-pack, so I was like, for old charge, I guess.
Yeah, no, I understand that you don't see other characters on your screen, and it's like, oh, maybe for that reason it's good. But the problem that you run into is this is the sort of thing where, yes,
emergency
it's just...
situations?
Emergency situations. You're just not getting anything out of the second pack. Like, I'm actually okay with you spending both packs on your Orisa if this fight goes differently, because you don't have anyone else to pack. Like, you think this is down to a very simplified fight. Like, I get that. But what you run into is there's very little reason to not be applying your second pack like now, as opposed to when you applied it. And if you're trying to apply it now, well, it's not going to be applied in the first place. And then you have your packs. Potentially, you have a pack for one of these two. Are you going to end up even getting a chance to apply it to one of these two? No. But what this is you literally didn't get anything by applying that second pack, because that second pack didn't get to do any healing, nor was it a real distraction to apply the second pack later. Just like, even though, hey, there's no one else here, well, it turns out there would have been people here. And like, that's, how do I want to say, like, that will work out to be the case a surprising amount of the time. Like, you will find yourself you're acting on pack debt, or you're acting starved on packs if you're doing this, hey, I'm double packing you situation. Again, you can pack her after it's ticked after it's ticked most of the way through, no problem. It's just not doing anything for you to pack her there.
Vamos, d'accord.
Okay, so this was just a weird fight in the first place. So here we are. And I don't really want to rotate through with my team the way they did. I just want to hop up here at this point, because I can tell where my team's going. That's all we need to do. We're going to get there. Instead, this ball knocks us, and I'm okay doing damage to this ball, but just a little. I'm not going to stay on this. Like, now I'm fighting this ball like It's so easy for me to get away from this ball with the exo boots. It's so easy to pop up here, but instead you're fighting it like you're a McCree or something trying to punish it. Like, you have zero interest in this. Get back up here and join your team. If you have to fight the ball, absolutely no problem fighting the ball. And I don't want you to, like, avoid the fight if the ball is getting in your way, but this ball's just not in your way, and now your team is missing its primary source of healing. And now we've spent our lamp, which is like, that's not something we want to do for duels unless we absolutely have to because things have gone wrong. That is a team resource, very much.
60 seconds. Ready to rally. Come on.
My ultimate is charging.
Rally to me! Do something! I'm planning my flag.
How about a little?
Seconds remaining.
How about a little extra here?
Sure. Yeah, okay.
30
Okay, why are you here rather than immediately drifting right? Like, we look at this and we don't want to be here. We're in War Brig where people can poke at us. We immediately want to go, hey, I'll roleplay Reinhardt and I'll play from the side here. Like, we don't want to give them a chance as they're coming back in to hit us unless we think we're going to hit that critical boop, which maybe we do, but... Sorry, what was that?
Escort.
I think he left chat by mistake because he's in general.
Oh,
right
my bad. Looks like you ended up in the other channel there. Hope you're good now.
The payload's under my protection.
How long is this gonna take? May as well have tires on.
Yep, we can hear you just fine. Turn you up just a little, just in case. Okay, so we're here. They have a Widow now. see the Widow. Unfortunate. Perhaps we didn't realize that was there fast enough. Again, we did have the option very much to approach this through here and heal from the side. As BAP, we generally like to position above or excuse me, behind or behind and above our team, but we do have to make certain allowances for the reality of, hey, is there snipers on the other team, too much hit scan on the other team, etc. And sometimes that will slide us into more passive positions like this one. I mean, what were you going for? Were you trying to whip shot the ball? What's going on here?
I don't know, honestly.
Okay. So some Widow respect for both of you, but that's okay.
I was trying to do that, but by putting up my shield, but I just put it down for a reason.
Yeah. And again, we see this shift with the regen burst. So I'm calling it shift, but it's the regen burst. And, you know, one more right click is going to heal McCree. That's not a big deal. You can hit them both with it, no problem whatsoever. Now you don't have it, and that potentially makes you vulnerable to a ball that shows up, which potentially puts you in a situation where you're using your lamp when you wouldn't have otherwise had to. It only heals your teammates for 75 HP. It heals you for 150. It's a big deal.
So you should stop using it like Brig's Inspire?
Right. It's not Brig's Inspire. It's much more valuable than that from a cost standpoint. So here we popped up here, and I don't particularly like this because, again, this is sort of like, hey, she's probably not looking at you. That's true. But is your team like a serious threat? Is your team doing anything right now? Like, if your team is committing to a push right now, sure, you can pop up and go, I'm going to try to fight. But this is sort of like I'm trying to pop up on an angle and get a pick off. And BAP does good damage. Don't get me wrong. Like, BAP can absolutely lock the headshots and just crush people. But he's generally not like, I'm going to instantly get a pick off the way Widow, Hanzo, or even Ashe or Roadhog are. So it generally doesn't make sense to peek unless your team is sort of doing something. And your team is doing something here. They're rotating. And that's something, but generally would be looking for your team is more making a serious play. They're actually aggressing onto something for this sort of, hey, I'm going to reveal myself. I'm going to expose myself to the enemy team to seriously shoot at. If that's what we're going to do, we would like it to be the team can't deal with us because they're busy dealing with our team. Here, they'd like to be dealing with our team. Our team is rotating. This isn't terrible, but at GM, we sort of go, you know, this would have made more sense to not really do this peak until my diva is pushing up there. Until my, what's your other tank? Until your diva's pushing up there. Until you actually have, made some of them fall down and your tracer's trying to clean them up. Your tracer's pushing up there. Whatever the case may be.
My diva had asked me to go contest her. And that's why I decided to jump.
Okay.
She said she would dive at that moment. And then she just didn't.
Okay. If that's what's happening, that's fine. I mean, if there was a call out of she's going to dive and she didn't, so be it.
Personne n'échappe à mon regard. Hands on your back. My barrier's about to go.
Ouch. So you can do this. Don't know why we lowered our shield. But you don't really need to even rotate through here, do you? Like, your team is almost for certain going to get control of this and fight them from here, right? I can't hear you if you said something.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can hear you. So yeah, this would have just been your rotation in the first place. That's just sort of reality. And also, hey, what are we lowering our shield for against the Widow? Shield balancing, shield versus health balancing makes sense in a lot of situations, not against one-shots. Okay. Sure. Our team's already getting rolled. Not much we can do from there.
Payload stopped.
That could have gone better. Ha! Ha!
30 seconds. My barrier can't take the
Clock's running down. Attack! Amplification matrix ready. Regen up. All better. Now.
Sure.
Not over yet.
Why are we still here? So, like, we see what's going on. We know that there's a fight here. Obviously, we want to work our way into the doorway, because with the doorway, we have cover. Now, we don't want to be incredibly predictable for it, so, like, there might be a little bit of faking left type thing going on. But, like, we're just real going left here at this point. We're, like, real going left. We didn't use cover. Okay, better.
It's Have you considered a different line of work?
Okay, we're gonna get to deny this next fight with the window.
How about a little
Yeah, so this isn't really our thing. Like, this is a Diva roll, a Genji roll. Like, we might support an upwards push like this, but we're, like, spearheading these upward pushes, and this is not the first time that we're doing it. And it's not really what we want to do, because it's too easy to get our lamp out of us like this. It pulls away our attention. Like, we do okay damage. Don't get me wrong. We do pretty darn good damage as BAP, but, like, I don't want to fight into this as BAP. I would much rather be in a situation where, hey, I've worked my way over to here and I'm healing from here. Hey, I'm here and I'm healing and rotating damage from here, than challenging this like you're a Diva, a Genji, something along those lines. It's not really a good distribution of resources from a team standpoint.
mortality field down? Watch yourself.
I mean, this is must win. Okay. I'm also a little disappointed that we haven't seen the window here. Like, we've had the window since we started second, and it would have been very easy
Immortality field down. Watch yourself.
here to just sort of lock in this point, and it's important that we lock in this point with a window. Like, we can just go, oh, it's a window, and it's a window that's just for me. That's fine. You're going to heal your team double through it. You're going to do damage with it. It's not like an amazing window, but they have a window down. Let's get some ult power into this fight, because we've, again, had this forever, and having it forever by itself isn't necessarily the end of the world, but we also have to win this fight.
I saw their hog on half health on
Mhm.
right, and then I had saw that their BAP was surrounded on point with 4 people. So I assumed, okay, BAP's gonna die. Hog's on the right. He could be killed very easily. That's why I didn't want to window this fight. Do you think it still would have been a value?
Let me turn you up more because you're really hard to hear. Give me just a second.
How about a little extra? Get in here.
Okay, so we talked about this. This isn't really what we want.
Immortality field down.
I mean,
Watch yourself.
I don't at all feel like this is a one fight. They've got 3 people on high ground, and you just saw that. So, like, you might be thinking, oh, hey, we're going to get Hog easily over here, but, like, no, they have 3 people and a window on high ground. This shouldn't feel like a one fight. Now, yes, they're going to have some contest issues, but those contest issues may be solved by, hey, BAP's going to drop in lamp, or hey, Hog is going to I don't know Hog's breather status. Maybe you do at this moment in time. Hog is going to come out and breather on point. This does not seem to me like it's a locked in point, given that you're closer to their spawn and that, again, they have the high ground control and a window going.
Mhm.
I could have walked faster than this.
60 seconds.
I'll take
remaining.
care of it. You're taking it.
Okay, so are you as Brig worried about what this team can throw at you in terms of people sneaking up on your BAP at this point?
No, right here, my mindset was like, I need to pocket these DPS since
Yep.
that's what I'm mainly focusing on to improve right now.
Yep, and that's good. We can actually be working our way up a little bit because we're thinking about we're never going to get an Inspire off here, and we want to think about we don't get like up here to get Inspires off, but do we get up to here where we can still pocket our DPS, but we can perhaps reach for a whip shot to get Inspire? We might then shift back to more passive positioning, but we sort of want moderately defensive positioning. We can sort of shift back and forth between defensive and moderately defensive positioning to try to get Inspire whip shots. Especially against a team like this, where you're not so worried about your BAP getting in trouble, or you're not worried about your BAP getting in trouble against things that you can prevent except the ball. So excuse me, just put a mental mark in the ball, sort of. But apparently we should be worried about things behind us. So I get that there's 26 seconds left and the music just got intense, but is there really any reason to push up this way with your bash as opposed to just going this way?
I was trying to push up that way to repair pack, though critical. That was my mindset at that time.
Yeah, but the problem that you're going to run into with this is, A, you want to be very careful about risking your own life to maybe help someone else that has put themselves in a bad situation, but also, if you do this, if you repair pack, your shield does go down when you repair pack. So, like, you do create a situation where he can headshot you. And sure enough, we lost Hog there. So, I would have said, hey, don't do that. That Kree is watching you too closely. They're marking you. They want you. You're in the open. There's not something you're going to be able to duck behind immediately. But I do understand where you're coming from.
Amplification matrix ready. Let them up. How about a little
Okay, and there's our window, and that's obviously a problem because we've had our window since here. And don't get me wrong, we had some bad team fights at the beginning here that just didn't make sense to try to invest window in. I totally agree, and we sort of nudged the cart forward without a team fight until like here-ish. But like that's an eternity to hold on to it. And while this game isn't super organized, it's a GM game. It has some level of organization. Like, there's not some, oh, there just wasn't a reasonable way to use window. You could have had 3 windows by now, and we all know it. So, like, there definitely was space to use this window, even on the last push, space to use this window.
Initiate. Ready for battle.
Here, my job was to defend BAP, then pocket DPS or enable.
Yep, you want to pocket BAP, and, well, you want to protect BAP and enable your Tracer, and to a lesser degree your Hanzo.
Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
Okay, here we
And
go.
you don't really want to be here because you're just like you're not effective from here. You want to be a little more than this A, especially with your BAP up here. And we can debate whether your BAP should be up here, but especially with your BAP up here, you're more interested in standing like here-ish. You could even stand like here-ish if you wanted, again with your shield up.
What about
Good.
high ground? Because I know a lot of Overwatch League players are right up here as Brig.
Yeah, you can start up here. You will, depending on how your team sets up, you can start up on high ground behind this pillar, absolutely. It depends a bit on how your team is holding and where they're holding. If your team is actually going to hold forward like this, so be it. I find this high ground gets surrendered very quickly, but it's very easy for you to give up as Brig without it costing you much, so that's perfectly fine. This is really far back given the situation. Like, you'd be back here maybe if you had a Zen back here, but where's your BAP?
Yeah, I can't see him.
Oh, yeah. Your BAP is up here.
Oh,
It's maybe questionable that we're up here as BAP for this long. Like, we would want to be out faster. We can go up to do a little bit of poke. Hey, we do a little bit of poke on their way up as they're rotating forward. But then we would want to work our way back pretty quickly to, hey, above and behind our team. That's our favorite. That's what we like. Oh, they have Widow. Okay, maybe we'll drop and maybe we'll just play behind our team where we have some cover. That's fine, but we're up here too long, but also, regardless of whether the BAP should be up there or not, you're not doing anything by being back here. So,
I
go ahead.
I heard some Pharah rockets, so that's why like my mindset put defensive, like more defensive since I heard the Pharah rockets respawn or not spawn once they're
Okay.
coming out.
Okay. Fair rockets might make you go harder for cover, break line of sight better. Distance alone isn't going to be a protection against those, but sure.
Well, that's because of the travel time. Like, so for it to come over here, so I can like have more time to react.
Sure. You do get more time to react like this. That's true. How do I want to put this? Yes, you do get more time to react like this, but you're still a support, and we still have to look at this from a support perspective of, okay, the only support that you can offer your team like this right now is repair packs, right? Like, that's all you can do for your team. You can't offer Inspire. You're not in a position to be able to proc Inspire even with whip shots from here. You're not in a position to protect your Hanzo or even, to protect your BAP or even your Hanzo from being dove by like a Tracer, a Ball, anything like this. The only support you're offering is that. So we do have to play where we can have some level of effectiveness. That's not me saying you have to be up there brawling, but we do have to play in a place where we can offer some of our kit to our team, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello? Anyone out there?
Good. Okay. So here we are. Good repair pack.
Feeling better?
Valid repair pack. We do want to get out here to get a whip shot off. It's unlikely that the next fair rocket is going to happen here, so we have to decide what are we going to do. Now, we could throw a repair pack on Hanzo, and that would totally be justified, because Hanzo is almost certainly going to take damage, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you could totally throw a repair pack on Hanzo, and it would be your last repair pack, and that would be justified. But you probably don't want to whip shot that Diva, because it'll just send them closer to your Hanzo, right?
True.
So,
Okay.
but it is time to get Inspire off. So can we round this corner and look and see if there's anything here? Turns out there's not, but like it's time to look for a chance to get your Inspire off. Go ahead.
I was trying to get the Inspire off the Diva.
Oh,
That's
you
why
did
I
go for that.
attempted.
Okay.
Yeah, you see? But I
I
missed
do.
it.
I do. And then you repair pack Orisa, who is not Hanzo. But oh, all good. All good. Then you get
Yeah,
Hanzo.
I also have a problem of repair packing the wrong people.
All good.
I was not expecting that at all. See, freaking
Yeah, they do that.
shot it.
This is just a Widow thing that they do, where this is a Widow trick shot that sometimes happens. I'm really not terribly concerned that this happened to you. I assume she hit the trick shot. Yeah, she hit the shot up there. That's just the thing that happens. You're worried about a hog up here. The fair just left. I'm really not terribly concerned that that happened. Reasonable adjustment to be playing here. Good. Still not sure what that shift is about. Sure. That shift makes a lot more sense. Yeah, fine.
Objective lost. Stop the payload.
This is okay, fine. Okay, let's see if we can stabilize a little better with a full regroup.
What is that melody?
What is that melody? Great. Good cancel.
Please. Contact emergency services.
Paying you for anyways.
So,
Shoot.
how would I play like the bodyguard style, like when they're jumping, when the Babs jumping like everywhere, like with their mobility that I can't really like use. Get
Yeah.
me?
So what you're going to run into here is you have to figure out as best you can where the fight is going to take place. Like, you can't keep up with BAP when BAP transitions from, when BAP goes up here, BAP is on their own. You can pay some
Yeah.
attention to them with like, hey, I'm going to send a repair pack your way. And that's a thing that, if you need it, great. But you're just going to have to go, okay, let me do what I can. Let me do this. Hey, let me keep my teammates roughly on my screen so that I can decide where to apply repair packs. Let me see if there's people to boop away, if there's Inspire to proc that makes sense. Like, that's fine. And then he goes up there. But this is between fights. Like, when your BAP is up here, this is between fights, and you absolutely have time to rotate like you're doing to go up here. So, like, yeah, you're not going to follow your BAP up here, and during the fight, you can't follow them, but you're aware of, hey, let me play in places where I can still contribute as best I can. And if your BAP gets pressured, your BAP is going to fall down here, right?
So if I can't follow them, do I like play with tanks more? Or like, where would I go on the fight? Like if I can't follow them,
Sure.
like if I don't have enough time to follow them.
Yeah. So first off, if your BAP is getting this aggressive, you're probably winning the fight. Like, that's sort of like that's kind of important for understanding if you're winning if you're going this far, you're probably winning the fight because your BAP is pushing forward to bite off more to try to finish off staggers, etc. But what you'd look for is you're now in a position where you want to go, like, you're now in a situation where you go, hey, I still want to be able to keep people on my screens. Like, it's not that the answer is never. The answer is never, not never, but basically never. My Orisa is standing right here, and I'm standing right here. Like, that just doesn't really do much. Or, my Reinhardt is right here, and I'm right here. And I'm not saying that that's really never the answer, but what you run into is you're really looking to constantly be in positions where, say your Orisa's right here, you're like right here third personing with your shield up. You can see what's going on. You can see your Orisa if you need to pack them. You can see your Hanzo over there if you need to pack them. That kind of thing. Like, oh, your Reinhardt is holding here. Great. You're looking to be here where you can see them if you need to. You can throw whip shots at the enemy team if you need to, if they advance at all. You can throw a repair pack up there at your Pharah. Like, that's the sort of thing you're looking for. You're not looking to be with your Reinhardt because you're going to be taken down too quickly by swipes. And in this situation, you have an Orisa. And you get a little bit maybe by being with your Orisa by going, hey, if the Tracer shows up, I can stop them. I can get in their way, not let them pulse bomb, that sort of thing. You get a little bit, but you actually have the best way of seeing if that's coming, seeing if someone's taking the angle. Let's pretend that your Reinhardt is here. You're going to do a better job of sort of seeing that the Tracer's taking the angles coming in, seeing that people are coming in like that are going to deal either with your tanks or with your backline, because you do still have backliners. They're just not BAP if your BAP is going forward. Your backliner might become your Widow, etc. You're going to still see those coming in better if you're sort of playing like a mid-back position. Like, you're playing, hey, I'm part back. I'm not like full all the way back where my BAP necessarily would stand. Like, your BAP might stand here. You could stand here, but if your BAP is standing like here, you could stand back with your BAP. You're more likely to stand like here-ish, where you're like, I have a very good awareness of that. I can see the routes that the flankers would come in. I can get a whip shot. After I get my whip shot, maybe I back off a little more, but I can see who I want to put packs on. I can see who wants to come in and get the early warning system on them, and you're sort of keeping a place where you have good sight. Does that make sense?
Yeah. All the squishies, yeah.
Right. And so, like, you don't need to go, oh, I'm going to play with my tanks. Like, you can, but if you're playing with your tanks, you're sort of doing it the same way a lot of the time that your BAP is. Your BAP is pushing up here because, hey, they were looking for staggers. Now they're setting up for next fight, and your front line is going to be further forward for the next fight, where they can poke from here and then fall back. And you are in this situation where you go, during the staggers, you might push forward and try to brawl to clean up the staggers, and that's fine because you're very unlikely to die when you're going for staggers, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Personne n'échappe à mon regard.
Why do we think we can do that?
You're fully healed.
Okay.
No one can hide from
Regen
Sure.
burst activated.
Okay, so it's probably not going to be your job to anchor. I see you're worried about that. It's probably going to be Diva's job unless she specifically called for someone else to do it, because I heard this Diva was on comms. Has she communicated anything regarding point control?
No.
Okay, then you may have to do it. That's unfortunate.
Så gott som ni.
Mm-hmm. Sure. It's unfortunate. Okay. So we're dropping. Are we dropping because we're scared of the Widow, or are we dropping because our whole team's dropping? Talk me through this.
Right there, I was dropping because I had Monkey on me.
Okay. That's not
Pretty
like
much.
super
I had
scary.
pressure.
That's not super scary to you, especially until he drops his stuff, because, you can do your bash, you can do your swings, but he's got ulti behind him, so that's okay. We can drop.
Alla till mig!
Into rally. Okay, guys. So we, I'll deal, but here we are. So here we are, and we're worried. We're worried that they're gonna roll us right here. They've just taken the high ground, and we pop rally. It's probably not the best rally in the world, but we're just worried about just losing second right here. We're popping the rally to stabilize, and I'm good with that. I can deal with us just popping rally and going, hey, this is a problem, whatever. But at this point, even though we're a poke team, can we meaningfully poke at this team?
No.
Right. So what do we need to do? We sort of need to go. We either need to rotate up there to take this back from them, or we need to make them try to push the cart, and then we can fight whoever's trying to push the cart, right? Like, those are really the only two options, yes?
Right.
Right. Okay, cool. So if those are really the only two options, we can walk at Tracer right now if we want to. Like, that's a thing that we could do. Or we could sort of tuck into cover, and this would be cover. We sort of turtle in an enclosed space, and when they try to push the point, drop someone to push the point, then we push out and try to run over whoever's there, and they have to leave, either with leaps or blinks or whatever. And then we go, well, we don't want you shooting at us right now, so we go back into cover, or we go back into cover type thing. Like, that's how we'd usually think about this engagement. Even though we have rally going, and it sucks, we can't brawl with this rally except to go chase down the Tracer. Instead, we're like trying to challenge them with like, we're going to leapfrog up here and fight. And again, it's just not us. Maybe if we were playing Lucio, we'd think about this play, but this just isn't a play like, we're going to jump you. This is not a terribly good role for BAP. It's especially not a terribly good role for BAP when we don't have a Winston, a Diva, whatever, also diving as part of it. Like, if BAP went in as part of a 6-man dive, no problem. If BAP went, hey, I'm going to pop up and shoot you guys, maybe not from here, but if BAP went, I'm going to pop up and shoot you guys conceptually while a bunch of his team was going in, maybe we could deal with that. But there's just not really a situation where we're going to go in like this because our team can't go vertical. And we've done this a few times, and it's very high risk for moderate reward at best. And now there's this window, and we just 100% go to cover. And again, instead we're sort of trying to jump our way in. We're not pushing off the Tracer terribly effectively. Now our Tracer's doing that. Our Diva is maybe sort of trying to figure out, can she knock someone down? And if she can, like she just did with the BAP, that's great. But primarily, we're not wanting to fight this. We're wanting to just go, we're not going to fight you through your window. We're not going to fight you through a high ground. Put someone on the cart where we don't care. Okay, and Kai's is out muscling some people, and it's nice to see this out muscling, but this really is out muscling. And this may be like, hey, you guys have found the top of the ladder on console, and you can do this, but this is kind of abusing that you've found the limit of console, where it's like, hey, I can jump up into 6 people, survive, fall down, jump back up into 2 people, eliminate one of them, leave, and then go eliminate another of them. Like, you basically are brute forcing the fact that they're just not mechanically as good as you. Which, hey, cool, but like, we want to maximize this stuff. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Personne n'échappe à mon regard.
And a little bit of payback, though, different player. Okay.
Feel better to get behind the Get
Right idea. Sniper's got the angle. That's not terribly surprising. Sure, yeah, not a ton you can do here. spawn.
Forward barrier.
Okay. So you could play here. Yeah, I see the issue. So you're trying to play here, and I'm okay with you playing here. Like, you want to be able to see everyone, that's good, but we sort of hit is your BAP playing back where you're really protecting them? Like, you're not really supposed to be the back, you're supposed to be the mid back. And your BAP isn't behind you, you don't have a Zen behind you, a Kree behind you, really anything like that, do you?
It was honestly, mainly because I'm used to Babs just jumping.
Yep.
Like, I thought he would jump right there then.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I would have to
you might
go
expect your
rotate all the way.
BAP to hop back, I get it. You can probably play up here, though, and third-person camera, and still have a pretty good feel for what's going on with your team, right? Like, you can still see a fair amount of the map if you play here, while still sort of enforcing this corner a little bit, getting to tack someone, if someone tries to go through here, you've got the bash into them that they'd try to do. So, like, it's not so much that, oh, hey, the solution is playing with your tanks, but we also don't want to be in a situation where if no one's playing behind us, like, it generally means we might be a little too far back. This isn't wildly too far back, but, like, this is a situation where, are you going to be able to get an Inspire anytime this century?
No.
Yeah, not a big deal. Not a big deal. It's complicated to figure out Brig positioning in an ongoing live environment. Like, I totally understand that. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. But this just becomes this would probably be a pretty good position if the opposing team had, like, pushed up to here. But they're not up to here yet, so let's maybe think, we've got pretty good control. Let's maybe go get here. Let's maybe drive this back, and maybe we think about, do I do a quick whip shot peek from here after this tracer's out of play anyway? Do I do that kind of thing? And then you do okay, I hit my quick whip shot pack, and then I fall back to here, or I fall back to here type thing. And then you move back up, and you hit it again. Not a big deal. I would really struggle to justify that dash, or that bash. Were you really in danger where you were?
Honestly, I just saw damage break or the damage happen to me, and I just went to my bath.
It's
next to my
It's a 7-second cooldown, that bash. Like, it's a 7-second cooldown, and Tracer knows she's a lot more free when it's on cooldown. So you really want to, you're a little too willing to use this bash for movement. There's times when it makes sense, like, hey, you're retreating from a terrible situation, it makes sense. You're a little too free with your usage of this, because now, like, okay, you've used bash, Tracer can do whatever she wants. Now, she's not going to this time. There we go. So that's just not paying attention directionally. So here we are. We're swinging at that. We like it. Oh, look, there's something I want to swing at over here. I'm good. Oh, look, now there's stuff over here. Well, there's stuff over here, but we can't really swing walk at this stuff over here. We can, while we have this as line of sight protection against this angled threat, we can throw repair packs, but we can't really, walk in this direction without paying any attention to this direction, right? Because we know enemies come from this direction. Okay, cool. Like, this is just no. You're just hoping that they can't hit you type thing. And I didn't see how this window went down. Let's take a look.
Let them up.
Sure. This window's a little shallower than you wanted. Yeah. When I say the window's a little shallower, I just mean you almost certainly wanted to push this window a little bit further forward on the wreck vehicle here, but that's fine. And really, if we're going to do this, I should be more critical because you could use some more feedback, and we haven't talked enough about windows other than you holding them too long. So let's go here.
Understood.
these guys would be pretty unhappy if we hit a window right now. Like if we just went, nope, we're gonna drop a window. Like they're actually gonna have trouble getting some of these people out. They're gonna have to back up and leave the cart completely, and then figure out how to push back up to the cart. It's not an amazing window, but we definitely had the option to go, hey, let's get a window in play, either right here or potentially threatening both of these lanes. We could drop the window so that it gets a little bit of this doorway and enough of this to threaten. Not a big deal. It's only going to get better as we wait. Oh, they popped Valk? No qualms. No qualms about dropping a window down main right now, or dropping a window if we were over here, across like this, which would be even better, to threaten both of these lanes. Because that's going to be a situation where they're giving up their Valk and they want to push and they're giving up time. They kind of have to push up into your window, or they have to give up serious things of value. Like they have committed to this push, and that's sort of when you want to use your windows. You want to use your windows right as they've committed to the rotation. Not right as they've committed to the rotation. After they've committed to the rotation deeply enough that getting out costs them serious resources. And getting out would very much cost them serious resources right now. That Sigma Shield's gonna... What's that?
So what would be the best like ults to trade for window? It's like how you said you trade window for Valk. So you're buying time and you're letting Valk run out.
Right. The best ults to trade for it, I mean, you're perfectly happy to go, hey, we're going to drop our window when they're trying to commit a rotation. If they're trying to commit a rotation, even with Beat, with Coalescence potentially, with Valk, any of those things that really enable a good push like that, you're perfectly happy to go, that's a good sign that they've committed to the push. Most ults are going to be a good sign. So like those ults that you'd use, but you don't immediately get value out of, are the ults that you tend to sort of trade for it. You're hoping to trade up. You're hoping to get more than just not let them push during the Valk. Like this, for example, you're hoping to break the barrier and eliminate the Sig, or eliminate the Mercy, or eliminate the BAP back there. You'd hope to do those things, and you have a pretty reasonable chance of doing those things. But really, any of those ults that don't have an instant payoff, like you're not going to necessarily window. There's times when you'd window in response to a shatter, but usually as soon as you see the shatter happen, you know if it was too valuable or not, and like you can't. Like you window, but three of your teammates are on the ground and they're going to be able to hit the follow-up. Now, if Reinhardt doesn't have any other follow-up, you could absolutely window, because that's going to stop him from being able to follow up, because if he swings, he dies. But mostly it's going to be a question of, are they pushed in enough? Are they using an ult to like help them rotate in? That very much means the rotation is real and they're trying to commit off of it. Does that sort of make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. And this could be another example, just like here, where, hey, this flux is happening, and let's pretend this flux is getting a few less people, and you're perfectly happy if you're back here to be windowing, because there's no way they're backing off. They want to push in to go do this, and it gives you double heal strength on people that you're trying to heal through the flux, and it gives you the double damage on them, who are definitely going to try to push during their flux. Yep.
So right here, should I have to stay back or?
No, rally changes everything. You're absolutely good here. Like, you're looking at this and going, hey, this is still too dicey. You're not convinced that you've won this. I mean, you may very well have won it with respawn advantage, but you're popping rally with this belief that you're not sure you've won it. Once you've popped rally like this, you are absolutely going to push it. You can consider old Brig reincarnated when you've used rally. You're pretty
Yeah,
darn...
that's what I think of rally.
Yeah. Now we want to get out before we run out of it, because we would like to finish our rally with a little armor. Maybe not. Tuck right so
So
you can regain shield. Go ahead.
should I use rally 1 second before the fight begins, or like a little beat to get stats for my team before like
No, rally
2 seconds?
generates armor pretty fast, and it doesn't hold forever now, the armor afterwards, so you can use it if you want, sort of after the opposing team is committed to the rotation, but I don't want you using rally early enough that the opposing team is willing to change their mind and back out, if that makes
So
sense.
like coalescence, kind of, pretty much, or
Yeah,
a little
a
less.
similar timing to Coalescence is fine.
Yeah, okay.
They're not the exact same timing, but Coalescence, Rally, Valk, all of those are going to share somewhat similar timing a lot of the times.
Okay.
Coalescence a little different because Coalescence will frequently get used
Yeah.
the instant it's available a little deeper into the brawl phase, but yeah. Mhm.
Honestly, right there, just try to get inspired off him.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I mean, you had gotten Inspire off of him, but yeah, okay. Trying for the hang time there. Sure.
Dein Schutzengel ist da.
30 seconds remaining.
Okay. So, as we get into your gameplay here, we went a little long as we generally do with duos, but as we get into your gameplay here, like, I don't really care about winning this specific game, and I hope you guys don't either, because that's generally not what we're trying to get out of Overwatch. Like, we can talk about, hey, it would have been nice if we'd done a bit more in terms of, it would have been nice if we'd set up some of this stuff a little bit differently in terms of, hey, we
Yeah.
can get a little bit more out of our ults. We can, maybe not challenge widows in ways like, we can be like, hey, the whole game potentially changes if you guys both don't get eliminated right off the bat by that widow at the beginning of second. Doesn't
Yeah.
really matter. But what we're really looking for here is things that we're noticing that you guys are consistently making mistakes on that we can improve on. And for Kai's, we're really looking at two things for that. The first thing, well, we could get into three things, but the thing that'll probably be the least controversial and the easiest implementation is that regen burst comes out too often, and you want to be greedy with that. Like, it's okay to heal other people with that in some situations, but those situations are basically, hey, I'm rotating with my team and my whole team is taking damage, or I'm taking damage and so is my team, so I'm really doing this for me. Because, like, it's a
Oh,
lot more valuable for BAP than it is for his teammates, and it's really not hard for BAP to heal his teammates with AoE healing with the right click. What was
it,
that?
is there any breakpoints you should start using it, like at 150,
It depends
100?
entirely on incoming damage. If you're under
Okay.
pressure, you're generally going to pop that. Like, if you go, hey, a tracer is on me, I don't care if you're at 199 health, you're going to pop that
Yeah, you
regenerative
pop it.
burst. So that's fine. If, like, you got hit by a Hanzo, but you're alive and you just got hit by a Hanzo when you popped
It
up
just
or something
escaped.
like that, and you just escaped, well, you're just gonna let Brig heal you back up. Like, that's just not a
Okay.
big deal. We would prefer to do that. But if there's someone else in the area, like a ball, okay, that might change things completely. So that gets too situational. But what's not so situational is we're not really that interested in healing our team with it. Because again, we'd like to have it, and we'd like to have it for protecting ourselves more. Again, we could get away with it during some of the rotations and such with the team, because during some rotations into the enemy team, we'll pack in tight with our team, and it gets massive value by getting everyone. But mostly, we're not really interested in, oh, yay, I healed 2 people for 75 HP. So I healed 2 people for the same as if I'd hit them with a nade. That's, or 5 HP less than if I'd hit them with a nade. Not amazing. Um, so that's going to be the first thing. The second thing is we are holding these windows a bit long. Some of that is coming from you just not getting great team fights to use them in, and I totally understand you feel like you don't get great team fights to use them in, but what you do when you feel like you're not getting great team fights to use them in is you try to find the first valid opportunity to use it in. And what I mean by that is, like, okay, with window, we're frequently looking to use it after the opposing team is committed to a rotation and is deep enough into the rotation that we've got a good chance of still getting picks on them, even if they back out. They're definitely going to give up resources if they back out, and if they try to force the rotation, we'll almost certainly get it on them. Now, we don't want to use it when we're like down 2 to 3 people, unless it's the end of the point, but we want to sort of look for the earliest opportunity where we sort of fulfill that situation if they've started to rotate in. Because if we wait too long, we hit these situations where, oops, our teammates got eliminated. So if you're feeling like your teammates are just getting eliminated too much, sort of look for earlier and earlier opportunities without going over the line there. I know that's not perfect, and I didn't give you a ton of examples throughout the match because I was jumping between you guys and I wasn't, always showing you the best thing of the match there necessarily, but that's sort of what we'd be looking to do if we're finding that we're holding our ult a fair bit, and you are holding your ult a fair bit. The other thing you can do is you can more aggressively call that you're looking to use your ult next fight. Let's look to window them, make a plan on comms with the team of how you're going to use the ult, and you don't have to make a plan with your team. You can assert your plan to your team so that you get to use your ult rather than your teammates cycling through their ult sort of constantly, and you feeling like we don't have to use it because we're already winning with Rally. Well, we don't have to use it because we're already going to win with Supercharger, etc. And then the third thing that I'd get into for you would be you got to be a little more careful with this, like, I'm going to jump up and be the aggressor type thing. Like, that's a sort of rare play, but for you, I can tell it's kind of a bread and butter type play. And you got to be a lot more careful with that because when you jump into 4 people, you're going to instantly get jump into 4 people, jump into 6 people, jump into 3 people. You're going to instantly get your lamp forced like you did over here once. And that lamp, like, you can get some value out of your lamp, don't get me wrong, and if you window and lamp to protect yourself while doing a ton of work with your window, or if you window to protect yourself from a tracer that jumps on you when you don't have regenerative burst, that's not going to bother me, but you're like forcing your own lamp by going aggressive into situations like this, or you should be forcing your lamp too often. You might not be because, hey, you're still working your way up the ladder and there just aren't enough GM players on console in the region you're playing in. Like, you might have something like that, and there is something to be said for you sometimes limit test, play more aggressively than you normally would when your opponents can't punish you to just take over games because you sort of have to if you want to work up 60-70% win rates, things like that. But you have to be aware that you're sort of breaking, I don't want to say the best practices, but breaking the most likely to work things because you're recognizing that, hey, these opponents have proven that they can't punish me. Does that sort of make sense where I'm going with this?
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
Okay. And then for you, Jomar, what we're going to get into is we obviously talked a bit about repair packs, and if you end up in repair pack debt, that puts you in bad places, and we saw that once or twice. Not so much when you double packed your Hammond there, or maybe it was your Orisa. I guess it was your Orisa. That one didn't ultimately put you in trouble, but we saw a couple other times, I remember on First, when we were first personing you, where it's like, hey, you'd like to have a pack for your Hanzo, or you'd like to have a pack for your BAP, and you really didn't because you'd sort of gone aggressive with your packs there. So there's a little bit of pack management that we can do to level you up. And then the other two things that we're going to get into is I know positioning is you're still struggling a little bit on grasping exactly what that should look like, especially when you have such a bouncy and aggressive BAP player. But what you're just going to have to do is you're just going to have to go, hey, I have a bouncy and aggressive BAP player, and yes, that does pull you more forward. Like, if you had a BAP or a Zen playing back here, playing here is great. Playing here is fine. If your BAP is regularly playing up here, whatever, okay, you're now going to go, I'm probably not going to play back here. I'm probably going to get a little bit more aggressive. I'm not going to like frontline, but I might get a little bit more aggressive to go, hey, I need to be close enough that I can at least get Inspire to happen a little more often while still maintaining as much visibility over my team as I can. And then once I get my Inspire, I might even pull back a little more. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the last thing I'd say for you is we just be a little more aware of your shield bass usage for movement. Shield bass usage for movement is fine when you come out of spawn, and it can make sense when you're like stuck in a rotation. Like, let's say, oh shoot, My whole team backed out. Like we were here, we were here, and my whole team ran this way. And shoot, I need to shield bash across this little gap to get out as quickly as possible. Like it can make sense in some retreat situations, but like they're very limited retreat situations, and you better actually have to retreat. If we're talking about something like we do over here, and this isn't the only place you did it, but somewhere over here where you go, let me bash to leave. Well, you bashed into the middle of the enemy's sight line when you were pretty okay here. Like this tracer, yes, you were missing health, but this tracer wasn't actually that dangerous to you. You still had shield left, you still had bash on cooldown. You're actually more vulnerable by having bashed over here, and the bash doesn't actually get you to safety. It gets you sort of starting to be on your way to safety. You follow?
Yeah.
Okay, so try to play that a little closer to the vest. The situations for using bash for movement are actually pretty limited. So with that, do either of you have questions? I've only got about 5 more minutes I can give you, but do you guys have questions, comments, concerns, things you disagree with, things you want to explore further, anything like that?
It's more of a broad question, but
Okay.
like, what is the worst team comp to you for Baptiste?
The worst team comp I mean, Baptiste is
It's
pretty darn
Baptiste.
flexible. Oof.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, obviously Baptiste is quite happy with Brawl. I'd say it was gonna be something divey. Baptiste is quite happy with Brawl
Yeah.
comps, and Baptiste is quite happy with Poke comps. So you give him something like, oh, lovely, I've got Hammond plus someone else, mobile, maybe Diva, maybe Winston, and then I have like Genji and Echo. Like if you're actually making me make the worst team comp, it's probably something like that. But generically, I would say Dive is his weakest choice of comp, but he's not terrible in it. It's
He's
just
not
not
even
great.
bad in it. Yeah.
He's not amazing. I mean, you can still lamp over places where dives happen. His window doesn't help a full dive comp that much because it's mostly just going to be him that ends up using it. Yeah, he's not that bad in it. He's a pretty good hero. Okay. Anything else, guys? Then I guess we'll call it there.